Looking at the damage by numbers here, Kalamazoo Sheriff Richard Fuller told reporters last night in a previous press conference that nearly 180 properties had damage in the community, and we heard at least 100 people displaced. Of those homes, about 15 to 17 completely destroyed. Up to 20 people had injuries, though none were life-threatening, thankfully. Our Max Goldwasser was there last night at Pavilion Estates and back again today. He's joining me live now. Max, what's the situation out there?
Yeah, Michael, when we were here last night, we couldn't really get to some of the hardest hit spots of this community just because there were active gas leaks. But we are back here today seeing some of that damage, that insane damage for the first time. Just check out this massive tree root that's taller than I am, lifted out of the ground, crashing onto the backside of this mobile home. In fact, the owners just arrived moments before we went live on air. They tell me they were here inside their home when this happened, and the term miracle keeps getting passed around because not many injuries reported and no deaths. And she's shaking her head no at me because it's something that you continue to hear over and over again, and it's really hard to believe, especially when you see a scene like this. Other people who live here last night telling me, describing the scene as absolute pandemonium. There's a video we want to show you that I posted on X the moments before that second tornado hit. Many of us, dozens of people, were funneled into this building here. It's the community office. Everyone was heading into the basement. Children were crying. Other kids who had been separated from their parents were reaching out to their dads and telling them to drop everything and get into the basement as quickly as they could. I'm saying this all as there's a cat rubbing up against my legs. That's another thing you have to consider, all the animals that were affected by all of this. It's quite an insane scene to be looking at. Words really don't paint the perfect picture. It's nothing I've ever experienced before. Many people who live here telling me the exact same thing. And that's really the problem with these mobile home communities is they don't have basements. They don't have anywhere to go. There's no state requirement that says they need to have a shelter set up for them in case of a severe storm or a tornado like we saw last night. And those who live here tell me maybe it's time that changes.
The first thing that when I got out of the van was everybody screaming. You know, there was so many people and screaming, and it was just, yeah, you didn't know what was going on.
That feeling of shock still hasn't left Angie Heath. She just moved into the Pavilion Estates trailer park in Portage, and within seconds, she watched it all get ripped away.
Oh my gosh, my windshield is gone. The front of my van is just totaled. Our house we have to move out. There's no staying there. The roof is falling in, and yeah, everything is gone.
In a moment where every second matters, Angie had to think quickly. She chose to take cover in her van with her son.
That train noise is for real, and I heard it, and so I yelled at him to get into the van, and I had to yell at him about 5 times.
Others decided to evacuate before the tornadoes arrived.
Where would you have gone if you were still here?
In our house, there really wasn't a safe option for 5 people.
Better safe than sorry, Cameron Driscoll says. Sorry that more isn't set up for their safety. The Mobile Home Commission Act of 1987 has 24 pages outlining regulations for these communities. Not a single requirement to protect residents during a tornado.
I think the biggest danger is, people in mobile homes have a lot of problems because nowhere is safe in a mobile home.
I brought this up to John Lindley, the president of the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association, who tells me although installing tornado shelters might seem like a viable solution, the tremendous costs required to construct these shelters would unavoidably be passed on to residents, significantly affecting affordability of their homes. In addition, the fact that these shelters may never actually be used makes it difficult to justify the significant costs to residents. Governor Whitmer addressed this during her tour of the community on Wednesday.
One of the interesting things that one of the folks from Portage said was that there were fewer homes that were lifted off their foundation because they did begin requiring the use of hurricane strips. I've never even heard the phrase before, but this is apparently an additional safety measure to help keep mobile homes on their foundations.
Those who live here say that's not enough.
Maybe this feels like a rude thing to say. It does kind of feel like the bare minimum that could be instated is like a storm cellar here at the front of the park and the back of the park. kind of set in an equidistant point to a majority of the homes so that everyone who can't evacuate has a chance to get to it.
Even if you made a few of them, in the park. I mean, because that's where everybody would have went, I'm sure, That would have been awesome.
Yeah, in the meantime, this community has been doing so much to make sure everyone is taken care of. Angie telling me they did a great job last night trying to get everyone to safety as quickly as they could, as much as they could given the circumstances. And today there are emergency disaster services set up out in front of the office. That is the Salvation Army truck you're looking at. Just beside that, off camera, the property managers have been handing out snacks and water and food to residents who need it. It is a long road to recovery ahead, but it's one they will not have to walk down alone. Michael.
Max, thank you so much for that. Do you notice the same thing that I've been noticing all day, that despite this mass devastation, this destruction, that there's a sense of hope amongst the people that have gone through this?
Of when we were up north in Gaylord following the tornadoes, I don't know if you can still hear me, Michael, following the tornadoes that were in that part of the state in 2022. That was an even smaller community. 95% of a mobile home park out there was completely decimated. But yeah, it's unfortunately some of the biggest tragedies that promote the biggest senses of unity within a community right behind us. So we can see neighbors helping their fellow victims here, putting beds into the backs of trucks because they're going to have to go someplace that isn't here. Their homes are ripped apart. They're going to have to pick up everything they know and move somewhere else. But that right there is just a minor glimpse of all the shots of community that we have seen all throughout the entire city of Portage.